right, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining, everyone. Today, we're going to be talking about career exploration. So this is figuring out what you want to do next. We're not getting into I'm ready to apply quite yet because we want to make sure we're doing what we want to do with our careers and everything. We're building it around ourselves, and just understanding the fact that we have mood disorders and have specific needs related to that. I'm Caroline. And hopefully this is one in a series of presentations. But I'm very happy to see so many people join. Um, so of course, just some of those typical things. Just keep your microphone on mute. Feel free to put your camera on if you feel comfortable. No worries if you don't. And then I'll take Q&As as we're going along, and I'm going to I'll save some time at the end to answer any questions. So feel free to put those in the chat as we go along, and I'll answer as many as I can once we get to like the Q&A section. So just those basic housekeeping things. So our lineup for this evening, we're going to start with, oh my goodness, let me grab that. We're going to start with determining what you need as someone with a mood disorder first. From there, we'll get into some self-reflection, do a really quick little personality assessment, the Myers-Briggs test, which some of you might be familiar with already. Then you're going to determine what you have. So we're going to talk about skills that you bring to the table and what you want out of a career. So from there, we'll go over all of that. Then I'll give you some more resources to take home with you, and we'll go from there. So with that said, again, my name is Caroline. I'm a career advisor. I work at the University of Southern California. I also live with cyclothymia and OCD. My perspective on this is going to be coming from working in multiple industries myself, working closely with recruiters through my work, and lived experience as somebody with a mood disorder. So with that said, the thing I really want to convey first is it starts with you. I firmly believe anybody can work in any industry they want to. It's just a matter of finding the right job for you. And that takes some time and calibration, but if there is an industry that you are passionate about, I absolutely believe anybody can work in any industry. You have to evaluate what you need first. And we, as people with mood disorders, have very specific needs in order to stay well. So I think establishing that, first of all, is the best first step. So with that said, it's a matter of figuring out what helps you and what hurts you. Working with your care team to figure out what you need in a career first is kind of your baseline, and will direct your career navigation from there. So with that said, a couple of things that are common areas to consider having a mood disorder with career things. Your day-to-day schedule. Some people thrive in a 9 to 5 situation and some people really don't. For me, I used to work in visual effects, and the hours were all over the place. Some days I'd be done at 1 p.m. The next day I'd be done at midnight. That really did not work for me because it messed with my sleep. I happen to work well in a 9 to 5 type situation, but for other people, that might not work. So thinking about what your sleep needs are and what schedule you do best with, that's a really important thing to consider when you're looking at what you want to do for a living and where you want to work. Your work environment. Fortunately, with the pandemic, that's given a little bit more options in terms of locations. So thinking about, do you do well in person? Do you do better virtually? Or is a combination good for you? Do you have sensory sensitivities, for example, sound or light? Or are there particular office styles that you work best in? For me personally, I'm very sensitive to sound. And I will do my best work if I have a separated office or I'm working from home. Whereas other people might, like that dynamic of an open office space where there's a lot of things going on. So thinking about where you're physically doing your work, that's another important consideration about, taking your care into consideration. Medication side effects. Do you have any side effects that could affect your work? For example, maybe you have a medication that makes you groggy. So you have to sort of factor in more break time and being able to get up, move around, all that stuff. So keeping into account, what your meds might bring to the table is important too. And then just ongoing health and wellness. What are your needs in terms of just staying healthy in general? Are there any regular appointments or commitments that you have to work into your schedule? All of these things are things that typically come up for people with mood disorders, but they're important things to consider for anyone in finding the type of work that works for them. With all this said, I think it's important to accept yourself at where you are. I think there's a lot of places out there saying, like, you got to hustle, you got to do this, you got to do this. I think the more that you can accept yourself at where you are, um, and see work as working for you and not despite you, will set you up for success and will lead you into the best place that you can be wellness wise as well as happiness wise. So with that said, we'll move into our first little section here, which is about getting to know yourself. I think that the more that you know about yourself, the more that you can use that information to find your path. There's millions and millions of assessments that you can take to sort of learn your personality a bit more. But today we're going to use one real quick one. So with that said, we're going to take the Myers-Briggs test. This is an assessment based on 4 factors combined in different combinations. There's 4 categories. So one is introversion versus extroversion. So that one, introverts tend to want more time alone versus extroverts want to be around people and find energy in engaging with people. Taking in information, sensing versus intuition. So that I'll have a slide up that kind of explains that a little bit more, but that's going to be the way that you want to take in information. Coming to conclusions, there's thinking versus feeling. So that's another factor that can affect the way that you like to work. And your approach to the outside world, judging versus perceiving. So all of this said, this is just kind of a quick overview, but I'll put up a slide that kind of goes into more depth about it. But before we do that, I am going to put in the chat. This is literally called the fastest Myers-Briggs test, but I did test it and I got the correct answer for myself. So it at least works as a very down and dirty version. I will give you a better one to do later, but let's just take 5 minutes. Feel free to go through this, put it in the chat there. And then once you finish it up, feel free to put in the chat what you got. Did you learn anything about yourself in taking the assessment? And what could this information tell you about where your strengths may lie? So I'll give you about 5 minutes. Feel free to go through, and then as you finish it up, just put those in the chat. And here's more information about what all of them mean. Ooh, maybe I can get some music playing here. Let's see if I can do that. You able to hear that?
Negative.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? INTJ or INTP? Yep. ENFJ, INFP. Amy, yours is very close to mine. I'm INFJ.
Okay, I clicked all the boxes.
Uh-huh.
Is the acronym at the bottom mine? Is
It
that
is,
the
yeah.
update?
Yeah, so it'll be like down here, but it'll have your individual result there.
Okay, I wasn't sure how it worked. Thank
Yeah, sure thing. XFFP. Interesting, Neon.
Okay, all right. I'm a little, hold on. The letters that I see are ISXJ, which doesn't.
ISXJ, interesting.
Yeah, because I see letters is right above copy as text, right?
Let me see here. Let me just put a bunch in and I'll see what happens and I'll show you which one. Wonder what kind of person this will come up with. But let's see here. All right, let's see here. Okay. So if it's X, that means you're right in the middle between the two. So you're basically an ambivert in that case. So you're right in the middle there.
Okay, so yours is XXTP.
Right. So this particular person would be like right between introvert and extrovert and right between I think that's sensing and is it sensing and intuition. Yeah, so that if you get an X, that means you're right in the middle. So either one of them could apply depending on the situation.
Yeah, my thinking and feeling, I just put it in the chat. The thinking and the feeling are in between.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So if you're getting something like that, that means both of these could apply for you. All right. Well, thank you everybody for doing that. This is, it's not a comprehensive thing, and there's even a better version of this that I have in the resources for you. But it can give you kind of an insight into, okay, I'm introverted. That means maybe I don't want to super like I don't want to be talking to people all day. Or I am an extrovert. I'm gonna be really bored if I'm just sitting in my house by myself. So this can give you some insights into yourself. But again, it's not a be all end all. So I encourage, sort of taking inventory and seeing what it is you like. Let me see here. All right. And then from there, It's a matter of figuring out what your skills are. So everybody has unique skills. I know sometimes, like, I call my depression voice the mean voice. Mean voice wants me to believe that I don't have anything to bring to the table. But that's just not true. Everybody has skills, even if it doesn't seem that way on first glance. You all have skills. Transferable skills are the key here. So, regardless of what your individual experiences are, you have developed numerous transferable skills. So, we'll do a little exercise here to sort of figure out what some of yours might be. So, a couple of these, some transferable skills. One of them is communication. So, this can include speaking, listening, and writing effectively. Facilitating group discussions for our facilitators in the room. That is a wonderful communication skill. Expressing ideas and describing your feelings. All things that I definitely get in my feelings a lot as somebody with a mood disorder. So that is definitely a strength, is communication skills, and a skill that is important to pretty much any job. Adaptability. This can include learning new skills, open mindedness, adjusting plans if things change, and switching gears. So, that is absolutely something that employers are looking for at virtually every job. Time management. This can include short and long term planning, ability to track progress, achieving goals, and meeting deadlines. And then problem solving. This can include thinking about things from multiple angles, staying calm under pressure, and seeking help from others to solve different issues that might come up. All of these, some of them, of course, you'll find in work, but some of them you might find outside of work. So, with that said, I'd like you to write down 3 things that you like to do. It can be work related or not work related. For example, and then you're gonna extrapolate from there which transferable skills you have from that. And then once you've done that, put one in the chat and we can, sort of see what other people are thinking, and see what skills we have across the board in this group here. And to the point of it being work related or not, for example, I love to plan vacations. Even if I'm not going to go on a vacation right now, I love sort of finding new places I want to go and new trips I want to do. That's definitely a lot of research. That's organization, and budgeting. So those are some skills that you can gather from that, just right off the bat. So it doesn't have to be work related. So I'll give you a couple minutes to do that, maybe like 3, 4 minutes.
Hey Caroline, could you put up the page of the skills, the list of
Oh, yes, thank you.
awesome, thank you.
Yes, I have a little list here. I'll put it in the chat as well. So if you are looking for some ideas on different transferable skills, we've got the top 10 here that they put on this page, but they go down and like if you scroll down on the page, they get into even more specific ones for the transferable skills. So it'll give you some ideas on different things that maybe you have a skill in. Put it up here for right now. Oh, research, social media, and spreadsheets. Yeah, those are all great skills, valuable to, I think, pretty much any job. So there you go. You got some great skills there. Creative problem solving. Yeah. Yeah, very important. Writing, project management, and leadership, all wonderful skills. Very applicable to any industry. Public speaking, yep. Very important. And then for people who are facilitators, you get that every time you facilitate. That's also listening skills. So you're getting a lot out of facilitating beyond just support. All right, feel free to keep them coming. Oh, creative thinking, wonderful. All right. So we're going to get into the next one, but feel free to keep those coming. From here, you have sort of an idea of what you need and what you have. Now it's time to bring in what you want. So from here, this is where you think of what your ideal job would have, and sort of think out, this is what I want, this is what I don't want, and everything. And this will guide you in your search as you go along. So there's a bunch of factors to consider here in careers, and this list is not exhaustive. But some important things to consider are your personal values. Is this a place that aligns with what you are about in your life? Is the mission and vision of the organization in alignment with yours? So that's a really important factor to consider with any kind of job. Abilities and skills. We talked about skills a little bit there, but which ones would you want to develop? What would you want to use and everything? So that's one way to sort of look at, would this job fit with me if I'm using the skills and the abilities that I like to? The environment, again, that can be as simple as, do I want to be in person or virtual, or the actual layout of where the place is. Also in terms of, are you around a lot of people? Is it loud? Is it noisy? Is it quiet? Where are you located with that? Environment is a big part of it, and can be an important thing to consider. Your interests. Are you interested in the field that they're in, or what you're doing in the position? You want to make sure that it's something you don't hate doing. Temperament and personality. For example, I am very much an introvert. I do like talking to people, but I know that if I were in a job where I was, in customer service or something like that, where I was talking to people all day, I would get completely exhausted. And on the other hand, my mother-in-law is a very big extrovert. She wants to be around people and, wants to have that engagement, and does well in those kinds of environments. So your temperament and personality, and I think some of those assessments can help you kind of figure that out. That is important too. Workplace culture and people. What kind of people do you want to work with? What kind of personalities work well with you? What other ones tend to frustrate you? Thinking about the kind of people you want to be interacting with on a day-to-day basis is important. And then, of course, necessities. What salary do you need? Where do you want to be location-wise? Any specific health concerns like we were talking about at the beginning, but could be, other physical or mental things that you want to have accommodations for. Is that available within the position? So these are some things to consider. And of course, there's probably way more that I could not think of when I wrote this slide. So again, not exhaustive. That said, there is a wonderful exercise in a book that I definitely recommend, called What Color is Your Parachute? This is going to be in the resources too. I put the name of it in the references for this slide, if you do want to check it out, which I do recommend. You do this thing called the flower exercise, and it helps you fill out what you want out of all of these. It takes a while to do the full flower exercise, but just to give you a sense of it, focus on just one of the petals, and I'll give you this a little bit bigger, and add some things that come to mind. And if you're comfortable, share with us one of the things that you wrote down in the chat. So I will show you that right now. So as you can see, each petal is kind of a different factor here. So this one is knowledge and fields of interest, goal or purpose and mission in life. What would you define there? Preferred places to live, favorite working conditions. So this is just to give you a sense. So take just one of them and think a little bit about what you would want in these particular areas. And then I'll give you a couple minutes to do that. And then from there, if you feel comfortable, maybe drop one in the chat. Hi, yes, I will put here, just fill out this job form for the worksheets. And then for anybody who joined later, to get those worksheets, just make sure you fill out this job form and I'll email it to everybody afterwards. Love to learn and share knowledge, humor, thinking with people. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, absolutely. All things that you can do and love to do. All different things that you can put in your keywords when you start searching for jobs. So fantastic. Working with people. Working with people who are passionate and collaborative. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's an important workplace culture thing. Absolutely good one. Non-negotiables would be that the culture environment not be toxic. Yep. Which would include a respect for me as a person of faith. Yeah. I don't want to be in the closet as a person of faith and not be welcome. Yeah, absolutely. Big thing in terms of a couple of the pedals, I would say here. Salary. Yep. Wages have not gone up. Yep. And that's one of those like non-negotiable things where it's like, I need this. So that would be under the necessity category for sure. Mission is to bring a professional career while bringing joy to others. I love that, Dion. You're very joyful. Money and nice people. Yeah. Yeah. All of these are great. And I like that people did different pedals too. So taking this obviously can take some time to fill out, but at least you get a flavor for it. And this will be in the worksheet packet. So again, that'll be in the chat. I'll put it in a couple more times. And then you'll be able to fill this exact sheet out on your own. Oh, here's some more. Inclusive environment. Yeah, absolutely. Money. Tolerate a good amount if I'm compensated well for it. And it's true, that's an important thing. Yeah, you figure out what kind of works for you. And then from there, that'll help you refine your job search. Because you ultimately it can get, I need to find a job right now. And I've fallen into that trap too. But ultimately, you're saving yourself time if you're going into it with as much information as you have, as you can have, so that you're narrowing it down to the positions that you're actually interested in. All right. Let me go here. I believe this might be the end of the formal part of my presentation. Let's see here. Yes. So in terms of our activities, that was the last one I had here, but I'm going to go through some resources. Before I do that, I just want to reiterate this is just one step on your journey. You do not have to, nor should you, have it all figured out today. And there are people there to help you along the way. I am honored to be part of this community with DBSA because it's an area where you can be comfortable to be yourself and learn more about yourself. Um, let's say so in terms of resources. So again, I'm going to put it in the chat. This is the way to get the worksheets. Just put your name and your email address in there. I will send them out probably tomorrow morning. So there will be worksheets here and I'll go through what they have, all things that we've covered today, as well as there's some great resources from DBSA directly from their website that I included in there. A more in-depth MBTI assessment. I would recommend 16 personalities in the chat. The one we did today was just real down and dirty, but this will get into way more detail about what each category is. And they've got some cute little characters for each individual person that they define them as. I think mine is like the advisor or something. Learn more about career options and paths with websites like ONET. I'll put that in here too. Online. And Career One Stop is very similar. And that's a place where you can go to sort of explore. So if you find, I really like research, you can look at what jobs are available in different industries that focus on that skill. So those are just two websites that I recommend for that. Of course, DBSA, I did include in the worksheet packet, they have a great little worksheet set all about occupational wellness. I use them regularly myself in sort of figuring out what I want and what I don't want. So that'll be in that worksheet packet. Your local library has a lot of great resources. I was rereading that book that I had mentioned, What Color is Your Parachute? And they mentioned it is the most stolen book from the public library system in most library systems. So don't steal it, but often they have that one. So yeah, definitely check out your local library resources. They might even have career workshops and workshops to build your skills and whatnot. So definitely check out your local library. And just know that you're not alone. DBSA support groups like these are great ways to connect with other people and build community. And that helps you to figure out more about yourself and to figure out where you want to go next on your path. I have references here. So this is What Color is Your Parachute I had mentioned. The transferable skills list is here. The wellness wheel is going to be in the packet. And then a couple of Myers-Briggs things there. So I'll send this out as well. And with that, that is everything I have. Thank you so much for listening. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if anybody wanted to ask any questions, I am so happy to answer it to the best of my ability.